From the desperate retreat at Dunkirk to the victory parade in Berlin, a philosophy of speed versus armor that evolved into the modern battle tank. This is the complete technical catalog of British Commonwealth armor. Let's start with the light tanks and carriers. Light tank Mk6, the pre-war standard, the mainstay of the British Army in 1939, armed with Vickers machine guns in a two-man turret. Mechanically reliable but woefully under-armored, it suffered heavy losses in France. Tetrarch light tank Mk7, the airborne light tank. Designed to be transported by air, it featured a unique steering system that warped the tracks. It was the only British tank capable of being deployed by the massive Hamilcar glider. Harry Hopkins light tank Mk8, the improved Tetrarch. It increased armor thickness and size but retained the airborne capability. While technically superior, it saw limited service as the role of light tanks diminished. Universal Carrier, the Bren gun carrier, the most produced armored fighting vehicle in history. A simple, open-top tracked vehicle powered by a Ford V 8. It carried infantry, mortars, and flamethrowers. Lloyd Carrier, the logistical workhorse, a simplified carrier utilizing Ford truck components, primarily used as a tractor for the 6-pounder anti-tank gun and for moving ammunition to the front lines. Vickers Light Dragon, the artillery mover, a tracked prime mover derived from the light tank chassis, used to tow field guns across difficult mud where wheeled trucks failed. Next is the cruiser tanks. Cruiser Mk1A9, the multi-turreted Scout, the first cruiser designed for speed and flanking. It featured a central turret and 2 auxiliary machine gun turrets. Cruiser Mk2A10, the heavy cruiser, a slower, up-armored version of the A9. It removed the auxiliary turrets to simplify production but was still mechanically fragile. Cruiser Mk3A13, the Christie Breakthrough, the first British tank to utilize the American Christie suspension system. This allowed for high cross-country speeds, setting the design standard. Cruiser Mk4A13 Mk2, the up-armored speedster. It added spaced armor plates to the turret sides of the A13, giving it a distinctive angled appearance. It was the primary British tank during the Battle of France. Covenanter A13 Mk3, the failed experiment. Designed to be a low-profile cruiser, it suffered from a fatal flaw. The radiator was placed at the front, causing constant overheating. Relegated entirely to training duties. Crusader Mk1, the desert icon. Sleek, fast, and low to the ground. It carried a 2-pounder gun and a secondary machine gun turret. While agile, its mechanical reliability in the desert heat was notoriously poor. Crusader Mk2, the improved icon. It thickened the armor and removed the troublesome secondary turret. It was the backbone of the 8th Army during the early North African campaigns. Crusader Mk3, the 6-pounder upgrade. To counter improved German armor, the turret was modified to accept the powerful 6-pounder gun. This gave British crews a fighting chance against the Panzer III. Cavalier A24, the interim solution, an attempt to mount a 6-pounder on a heavier chassis. It was underpowered and plagued by the same Liberty engine issues as the Crusader. Centaur A27L, the Royal Marine tank, essentially a Cromwell hull fitted with the older Liberty engine, primarily used by the Royal Marines Armored Support Group on D-Day. Cromwell A27M, the Thoroughbred, the definitive British cruiser, powered by the Rolls-Royce Meteor engine, a derated Spitfire engine. It was reliable, heavily armored, and capable of speeds up to 40 miles per hour. Challenger A30, the tank-destroyer hybrid, a lengthened Cromwell hull with an extra road wheel, designed to carry a massive turret for the 17-pounder gun. Comet A34, the peak of the lineage, a redesign of the Cromwell to mount the high-velocity 77mm gun. With 100mm of turret armor and excellent mobility, it was arguably the best British tank of the war. Centurion A41, the first main battle tank, a complete departure from the cruiser/infantry doctrine. It combined the speed of a cruiser with the armor of an infantry tank. Arriving in Germany in May 1945, it defined the post-war era. Moving on to the infantry tanks, Matilda I A11, the mobile pillbox, a tiny 2-man tank armed only with a machine gun. Its armor was surprisingly thick, but its slow speed made it obsolete immediately. Matilda II, A-12, the Queen of the Desert. In 1940, its cast armor was impervious to almost all German anti-tank guns. Armed with a 2-pounder, it dominated early battles. Valentine Mk1-11, the reliable shield, built on a private venture by Vickers. It used a reliable diesel engine and simple mechanics. Over 8,000 were built, serving in every theater. Churchill Mk1-2, the trench crosser, designed for World War I conditions with tracks running over the hull. Heavily armored but initially armed only with a 2-pounder gun. Churchill Mk3-4, the heavy hitter, the first major upgrade, fitting the 6-pounder gun into a welded or cast turret. These tanks bore the brunt of the fighting in Tunisia and Italy. Churchill Mk7, the heavy Churchill, a complete redesign of the hull with significantly thicker armor, up to 152 millimeters on the front. Slow, but capable of absorbing punishment from Tiger tanks. Black Prince A-43, the Super Churchill, an experimental widened Churchill hull designed to carry the 17-pounder gun. While heavily armored, it was hopelessly slow. Now, the Commonwealth and Dominion armor. Ram Mk1-2, the Canadian cruiser, built in Canada using the chassis of the American M3 Lee, but fitted with a proper turret. Though mostly used for training, it was the basis for many specialist vehicles. Grizzly 1, the Canadian Sherman, a modified M4A1 Sherman built in Canada, featuring thicker armor and locally produced tracks. Sentinel AC-1, the Australian cruiser, born from the fear of Japanese invasion. It featured a fully cast hull, a manufacturing feat for Australian industry at the time. Ram Kangaroo, the first APC, a Canadian innovation. Ram tanks with their turrets removed to carry infantry safely under fire. It revolutionized armored infantry tactics. Marmon Harrington armored car, the South African Wanderer, built in South Africa using Ford truck parts. It was the primary reconnaissance vehicle for British forces in the early Desert War. Next, the Lend-Lease modifications. Sherman Firefly, the Tiger Killer, the most famous British modification. Engineers cut a hole in the back of the Sherman turret to fit the massive breech of the 17-pounder anti-tank gun. Sherman V M4A4, the Lend-Lease standard. The British Army received thousands of the Chrysler multibank engine Shermans, valuing their reliability. Stuart Honey, the Desert Speedster, the British name for the American M3 light tank. Crews loved its mechanical reliability compared to British designs. M10 Achilles, the upgunned destroyer, an American M10 tank destroyer rearmed with the British 17-pounder gun. It combined American mobility with British lethality. Next, the armored cars. Daimler Dingo, the Scout car, a small four-wheel drive reconnaissance vehicle with a pre-selector gearbox that allowed it to drive as fast in reverse as forward. Humber armored car, the Colonial Patroller, the most widely produced British armored car. Armed with machine guns or a 37mm cannon, it served in Burma, Italy, and Europe. Daimler armored car, the Pocket Tank, a scaled-up Dingo chassis mounting a Tetrarch tank turret with a 2-pounder gun. AC armored car, the Heavy Wheeler, based on an artillery tractor chassis. The Mk3 variant mounted a 75mm gun, giving it the same firepower as a medium tank. Staghound T-17E1, the Heavy Export, an American design rejected by the U.S. Army. The British adopted it for its heavy armor and range. Otter Light Recon Car, the Canadian Scout, built by GM Canada, a simple, lightly armored car used extensively by Canadian units in Italy and Northwest Europe. Fox Armored Car, the Canadian Hybrid, a Humber armored car turret mounted on a Canadian-built chassis. Finally, the specialized armor, Hobart's Funnies and Prototypes. Bishop, the Desert SPG, a rushed attempt to mount the 25-pounder field gun on a Valentine chassis. The high superstructure made it a large target. Sexton, the Commonwealth Priest, a 25-pounder gun mounted on the Canadian Ram tank chassis. It became the standard mobile artillery. Archer, the Backward Killer, a Valentine chassis mounting a 17-pounder gun facing the rear. To fire, the driver had to park the tank backwards. Churchill Aviary, the bunker buster, armed with a 290mm spigot mortar designed to fire a flying dustbin demolition charge. Churchill Crocodile, the flamethrower, a Churchill Mk7 towing an armored fuel trailer. The hull machine gun was replaced with a flame projector. Sherman Crab, the mine flail, a Sherman equipped with a rotating drum and chains. It beat the ground ahead of the tank to safely detonate mines. Skink Anti-Aircraft Tank, the aircraft shredder, a Canadian Grizzly hull fitted with a quadruple 20mm Pulse 10 cannon turret. The 39 Tortoise, the Monster, a 79-ton super heavy assault gun designed to smash the Siegfried Line. Armed with a 32-pounder gun, it was the heaviest British vehicle ever built, though it arrived too late for the war. From the rivet-hulled cruisers of the desert to the meteor engine chariots of the Rhine. This is the technical catalog of the British Empire.